I think the hardest part about divorce, at least for me, my experience, is avoiding a process server. I don't know if anybody's ever had to do that. I don't wish that on nobody, because I didn't really know how important a process server is in a divorce. I didn't realize all that it entailed, because I'll never forget when the quote-unquote shit hit the fan. Like, we have been separated for like 2-3 months already, right? And I'll never forget, I was in Naples, Florida. It was a Friday night. I had 2 shows. I get off stage after the first show. I go to my dressing room. I check my phone. And that's when TMZ got a hold of my divorce. And everybody's texting me, calling me, sending me the links. It's TMZ, BET, People, AOL. I was like, AOL? We got a dial-up divorce. Ain't this a bitch? So my lawyer just started blowing me up. And so I finally answered. She goes, Gary, where you at right now? I said, I'm in Naples, Florida. She goes, you got a show tonight? I said, I got 2. I just got on the first one. Second one starts in 30 minutes. She goes, cancel it. I said, I can't cancel the show in 30 minutes notice. She goes, no, Gary, you don't understand. We are worried that a process server is on the way to serve you. I said, what does that mean? So she had explained to me, we got a house in California. We got a house in Ohio. I filed for divorce in Ohio. My ex filed in California. So my lawyer said, Gary, if you get served, chances are your divorce will go down in California. California's a 50-50 state, which means she can get half your money for the rest of your life. I said, say less, this show's over. I canceled that show so goddamn fast. I would say I feel bad for those 400 people that night, but I don't. Fuck them all. I got bigger shit to worry about than hee-hee-ha-ha jokes. My life, motherfucker. When I tell you, I immediately went on the run. Immediately. I canceled all my credit cards. I was Randy Moss, straight cash, homie. I changed my cell phone number. I changed my cell phone carrier, because I'd be watching the first 48. They be catching them killers by pinging their cell phones off them towers. I didn't want a process server pinging my shit. I was sticking and moving all over the country. I was never anywhere for more than like 5-6 days. I was going to really white areas to blend in. Went to Maine, Montana, North and South Dakota. Went to West Virginia, hiked the Appalachian Trail. I was on the run. But after about 8 weeks of being on the run, I said, I got to get back to work. I was going crazy, right? So I called my lawyer. I called my manager. I said, I'm ready to go back to work. They said, Gary, we don't recommend it. I said, I got to get back to work. So the 8 weeks I was on the run, I really tried to educate myself on how not to get served. So in my line of work, the 2 most common places is on stage and at the airport. So when I went back to work, all my shows, I'd be way back here. I was traveling with the undercover security guy, so you wouldn't know. He'd be in the front, you wouldn't even know it. So, and then the airport was the other big one. So what I would do, I would never fly into a city I was performing in. So my first week back to work, I was in Baltimore, Maryland. I flew into Pittsburgh, drove my ass down to Baltimore, and never got on the highway, all back roads. Because let me tell you something, these process servers, they'll get these fake-ass cop cars, they'll pull you over, you ain't getting a ticket, you getting papers. So I was back. So at one point, I was so deep in Amish country in Pennsylvania. That's how back roads I was at. Like, I was the only car on the road. It was a bunch of dudes in horses and carriages. They got these suits on with hats and beards with no mustaches. And you look on the side, they building homes with their bare hands. Like no hammer, just hitting a nail. So I got hungry. At one point I got hungry, I said, I gotta stop and get something to eat. So I stopped at this restaurant called Bob Evans, right? So I sit in this back booth so I can see everybody coming. So I'm eating, but my head's on swivel, like I said. And it's all Amish looking people in the restaurant. And all of a sudden one black dude walked in. I said, what the fuck he doing here? And the dude made eye contact. He goes, yo, Gary. I said, not today. Not today. He started walking towards me. I'm throwing orange juice, toasted this motherfucker. He chased me all over that goddamn restaurant. I don't know if he was a process server or not. I couldn't risk it. There's probably still some brother in Pennsylvania. Gary's a motherfucking asshole. My bad. If he sees this, my fault, man. So it ended up after about April, May, June, four and a half months of me avoiding a process server and her avoiding a process server, we finally got her at a Panera Bread in Antioch, California. So shouts out to Panera. And here's the thing, it's all luck in the end. It's all luck. Because when you know a process server is trying to serve you and she knows, in the end, I always tell myself, how's this gonna play out? And it just ended up being lucky. And because I hired a process server out here in California and she wasn't doing her job. So I had to get this process server in Ohio, and me and her flew from Cincinnati out here to California. So we get off the plane, we go to my old neighborhood, and we just got lucky. We saw my ex pulling out of a grocery store parking lot, and I told the processor, oh, that's her. So we start falling on the highway, and the processor was like, you gotta get in the back seat. She might see you in the rearview mirror. So now I'm in the back seat riding, and we following her. And then she goes, you gotta get the fuck down. She might see you. So now I'm just laying flat. I don't know where the hell we at. And then we finally, all of a sudden we stopped, and the lady just looked back. She was like, it's go time. I was like, what the fuck, go time? I'm just trying to give her some papers. This ain't no Jason Bourne shit. So here's how we got lucky. She goes to Panera, and she goes through the drive-thru. So she got stuck. She had a couple cars in front of her, a couple behind her. But here's the thing, you still got to get her to roll down the window. If she don't roll down the window, she ain't served. That's why I brought this chick from Ohio with me. She knew what she was doing. So she can't go in front of the car or behind the car because she can see her in the rearview mirror. And thank God my ex was riding in a Tahoe. So she's riding up kind of high, Tahoe that I paid for in full. Just want to throw that out there. So then somehow this process server, she got right next to the driver's side door, and she was just beneath the rear view mirror. So the whole time my ex was in the drive-thru Panera, she didn't know a girl was right next to the truck. So every time she would pull up, she would just walk with the car. She finally rolled down her window to place her order. She just stood up. She was like, you're served. I said, oh, we got her. She was so mad. Ooh, she was so mad. Because I remember it was about an hour later, I got a text, you dusty white devil. I was like, dang, why I gotta be dusty? White devil's enough, but dusty? So, me being a comedian, I'm sarcastic. I text her back. I said, the whole time we was married, I kept telling you got to eat too much. Now look what it got you served. She was mad. She hit me with like 3,000 black middle fingers. It just kept going on my phone. I was like, God, she's still going. She finally stopped. I hit her with the one shoulder shrug. I think the hardest part about the craziest thing about a divorce, man, especially you go through a public, messy divorce, that's when you especially find out who your real friends and family are. Because, man, I lost my whole circle changed. I lost a lot of friends, a lot of family members because of my divorce. My dad, that hoe back bitch, man, I never knew my dad was a hoe back bitch till my divorce happened. So mad I came out his dick. All the dicks in the world, and I came up a hoe back bitch dick. Okay, so clearly I gotta explain why I called him that. You can't just call your dad a hoe back bitch. You're not gonna detail why he's a hoe back bitch. So I say my dad, I use that word very loosely. Like, he wasn't around when I was growing up, but then when I got a little older and I got on TV and got in a couple movies, he started popping up a lot more. It's weird how that happens. So I think in the back of my brain, I kind of knew what it was all the time with him, right? So when I was on the run, right, one of the weekends I was on the run, a friend of mine got me an Airbnb in Sedona, Arizona. So I'm at this Airbnb for a week. And after about 2-3 days, I was getting bored. So I was seeing this young lady, and I called her. I said, hey, can you come out to Sedona for a few days? Now, keep in mind, this is 6 months after we had been separated. So it's not a side chick. It's not a mistress. I'm allowed to date. My ex allowed to date. So me and this girl were hanging out in Sedona. Now, she's getting bored. So one day we woke up. We said, well, let's go to Grand Canyon. I've never been. She's never been. Let's go. Couple-hour drive. So we go there. Keep in mind, nobody's served yet. So my head's still on a swivel. And I thought Grand Canyon was some more white shit I could do and blend in. But then there was a couple brothers there that day, but they wasn't hiking down because they didn't want to get their Jordans dirty. I was like, damn, you bought some crispy white ones. So like anybody when you go to Grand Canyon, right? You take pictures. So that day I took like 7, 8 pictures. And when I got my new cell phone, in the beginning only like 10, 15 people had my cell number. So I'd always text people in a group chat to let them know where I'm at, keep them updated on my whereabouts and stuff. So my dad was in the group text. At that point I thought I could trust him. So in one of the pictures at the Grand Canyon I took, and the girl was in the picture with me. And nobody brought up, nobody said anything. I thought nothing of it. Fast forward a couple weeks later. It's July 4th. I fly home to Cincinnati. I said, I want to go to Reds game. So I'm going to go to Reds game. I can't sit in the stands with everybody else. I got to get a suite because I can't risk sitting in the stands and a motherfucker walking up going, you want some peanuts and papers? So I had to get a suite. So I called one of my buddies up. He invited like 7, 8 of our mutual friends, and everybody knew the rules. No social media posts, no pictures, no announcements. You're at the game. We had a great day at the ballpark. The next morning, July 5th, 7:17 in the morning, I get a voicemail from my dad. Hey, it's your fucking dad, and you don't respect me. And he just starts cussing me out. I go, what the fuck's he mad about? Then he sends me a long text about an hour later how he heard I came in town. I went to the Reds game. I didn't invite him. He's come to expect this behavior from me. I never include him in shit. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. This motherfucker's mad about a Reds game? Keep in mind, motherfucker never took me to a Reds game growing up. I didn't feel the need to take your old ass to a Reds game. So I said, let me call him. So when I called him, I said, it's got to be something deeper to that. First words out of my mouth. Hey, Dad, I got your voicemail, I got your text. He goes, yeah, I meant every word of it. I was like, this ain't going to end well. So now we're talking. It's getting heated. Here's the problem with my dad. He's a bit of a bully. He likes to cuss people out. The problem is when he tries to cuss me out, he forgets that I hang out with a lot of black people. So I can cuss him out better than he can cuss me out because you become a product of your environment. So my dad got mad and hit me with a, well, fuck you. I was like, well, fuck you. Fuck your bitch ass wife. Fuck your fucking family, homie. I hung up on him. So when I hung up on him, this whole bag bitch, that picture of me and the girl from the Grand Canyon, he sent it to my ex-wife. Then he took that same picture and posted it on his Facebook page, put the middle finger emoji in front of it. Then he posted a picture of my ex-wife on his Facebook page and was like, I got your back to this divorce. You've always been like a daughter to me. Keep in mind, my dad don't like black people at all. Has no black friends. Motherfucker's a Trump thumper. Not Trump supporter, Trump thumper. Like, I ain't saying he rushed the Capitol. He was at the monument. That motherfucker made the trip. But now he wants to support a black woman. You hoe bag bitch. And I meant every word I said. His wife can get it too. That Tom Petty looking hoe. Free falling ass bitch. Flat ass, no titties. Built like an overdeveloped 6th grader. If that hoe landed on Jeffrey Epstein's island, they say send her ass home. What the fuck we do with this? She ugly as fuck. Flat ass motherfucker. If she went to Japan, all the Japanese women will be like, oh fuck, look at how flat the her ass is. I've never seen such a flat ass. Mine's so much bigger. Well, thanks for letting me vent. I'm gonna get a drink. Tell you what I've done since I got divorced. So I started taking gummies. Yeah, like I never did any drugs when I was married, and then I get divorced. I was like, I'm gonna try some shit, you know? Here's the thing about gummies though, like nobody ever just finds a gummy and starts taking it. Like somebody has to introduce you to that shit, and you better hope you pick the right friend the first time you do it. Because whoever gives you a gummy the first time you do it, they're going to talk to you like you a CVS pharmacist. Hey, what you think about, Gary? You want a 10 milligram or the 15 milligram? I want the little red bear. I want to try that little red bear. I don't think you want the bear. I want to try the bear. And they always give you all these disclaimers before you take it. All right, Gary, look. I'm going to give you the bear. Promise me you'll be somewhere stationary when you take it. Because once you eat it, it's going to be about 30 to 45 minutes before it kicks in, and you don't want to be in your car driving when that happens, because you don't know how your body's going to react. That right there should tell you don't do it. You don't know how your body's going to react? Because I remember first time I ever took a gummy, I went to my boy's house. He had a little packet on the kitchen counter. I go over, I grab the packet. We get in his car. We head to a restaurant. On the way to the restaurant, I ate the bear. We sit out at the restaurant. We order our food. talking. It's at that point I looked at my watch, 30 minutes. Nothing. 35. Nothing. 40. Nothing. Looked at my buddy, I said, hey, I think you gave me a drug-free bear. So my dumb ass took another one. Whoa, look at all the addicts. A bunch of drug heads here in San Jose. I ain't ever seen a whole motherfucking crowd go, oh! You're like a table here, a table here, not every motherfucker in here. I think the camera guy stopped filming. This motherfucker say too. So, here's the thing though. Here's the thing about taking those bears 40 minutes apart. It don't matter. It don't matter that I took those bears 40 minutes apart. When those two bears met each other in my stomach, they came together and formed a bigger, stronger bear. It's not like one bear came out and 40 minutes later the other bear came out. No. Same time the bears attack. And when the bears attack, there's nothing you can do. It don't matter how much food you eat. It don't matter how much water you drink. Somebody told me milk. Lies. When the bears attack, the only thing that can help you is time. Because when those two bears attacked me in that restaurant, I felt like I was in the movie Get Out. I was just stuck. I was there, mentally I was there. I just couldn't talk. But I was happy. Those two bears made me happy. Because I remember I was sitting in a restaurant and I was having a full conversation with myself in my brain. I was like, this is crazy. I can't talk. What chance? All these people are at the same restaurant I'm at. I don't know anybody here. Oh God, it came at the same time. And then the waiter finally came over with our food. And my buddy went to the bathroom. And I can't tell the waiter that's our food. I can't talk. And I'm fucking starving at this point. You know how much food you gotta eat to feed two bears? So the waiter just kept standing there, who got a chicken fried rice? Who got a chicken fried rice? And I can't say shit. I'm just staring at this motherfucker. He's about to leave. I said, I can't let this motherfucker leave. So I had to focus. And I had to override the bears. But when the bears allowed me to speak, they made me stereotype my food. Because the waiter was like, look, one last time, who got a chicken fried rice? I said, I got that motherfucking chicken fried rice. And that's all I said for the next 30 minutes. That's my motherfucking chicken fried rice. My buddy finally came back to the table. He started fucking with me. Gary, how's your food? This some good ass motherfucking chicken fried rice. And I know that food was good. I know it was good. Because I never brought it to my mouth. I went to the table to get it. I thought my fingers was chopsticks. I was killing that shit. I tell you what. Looking back on that day, I'm glad I took those gummies. I'm glad I've continued to take gummies. Because I feel like it's helped me act a little bit, you know? Because, you know, here's the thing. Since it's been established, everybody in here has done it. Isn't it crazy, like when you take a gummy, you think of some of the simplest shit. And you'd be like, why haven't I thought of this before? Better yet, why hadn't anybody else ever thought of this? But I would never risk taking a gummy before I came on stage, because I can't risk getting stuck again. I'm just staring at you motherfuckers. You motherfuckers are staring at me. You get mad, I ain't telling no jokes. Everybody stands up to leave, and the Bears are like, Gary, look at that, you're getting a standing ovation. They love you. Look at that Bay Area love. Dang, I ain't even say shit. Yeah, the Katt thing was interesting this week because it was funny. Like, I was watching it live when it happened because I remember I was making lunch, and I like that podcast as it is, so I saw Katt was on there, so I know Katt was going to drop some one-liners. I didn't know he was going to go nuclear. Like, it wasn't even like, man, Shannon was just stuck. He said, Katt, how's it going? Fuck Ricky. Fuck Cedric. Fuck Steve. I was like, God damn. This motherfucker hasn't said hello. So I'm watching like, oh, it was like the first 30 minutes, oh. So now I'm getting my shit out of the microwave. I remember I was in the fridge and I heard my name. And Gary Owen, what the hell? So I didn't hear it, but I didn't want to stop the podcast. I didn't want to rewind it. I like it live. So I got on Twitter. I was like, what the hell Katt say about me? And everybody was telling me, like, nah, he said you cool. He said you haven't crossed over yet because you haven't joined the Illuminati or sucked a dick or let anybody put anything in your ass. I was like, Katt said all that? I said, that was a lot. So then it was funny because he basically was saying, like, I've been doing stand-up for like 25 years, and I'm famous in the black community, but I haven't crossed over because I haven't like sold out. And I was thinking, I was like, well, I think when you get in the entertainment business, if you ain't comfortable around gays or Jewish people, you in the wrong line of work, because there's a lot of both in the entertainment business. And you know, I didn't know a lot about Jewish people, and then I got in the entertainment business, and I started learning about them. They really like matzo ball soup. That shit is bland. And I've been to lunch meetings with Jewish people, and I had to eat it, but just so the record shows, that's the only ball that's ever been in my mouth. It's a matzo ball. I did get hit on one time by a Hollywood exec, and I'm not going to say the name. Everybody's like, you got to name him. You're part of the problem. I go, no, you got to realize this dude didn't touch me. This dude didn't promise me any work if I didn't do anything. The motherfucker just hit on me. That's not illegal. You allowed to hit on motherfuckers. Everybody in here with the boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, somebody hit on somebody. You didn't motherfucker just like arrange marriage. We're together. No. You motherfucker had to make a move. This motherfucker just made a move in his office. But he was very subtle how he did it. Because I'm in there talking to him, and I knew he was a little sweet already. You can tell when the motherfucker's sweet. So I was sitting there, and he's asking all these questions, like, what is my goals? What do I want to do in this business? What do I see myself at? And I'm new to the game, kind of, you know, I'm talking. And then out of left field, he goes, how much you make a year, Gary? How much you make a year? And keep in mind, I'm making a number up. I don't know what I told him, but it was something low. I was like $50,000 a year. He goes, psst. He goes, I can make you millions in a year. I was like, do it. And then the motherfucker's like, how hard you want to work? I said, I'm a hard worker. I work hard. And then he was like, you work hard? I went, wait a minute. Because when he said you work hard, he shifted in the chair. He was like, you work hard? I was like, and I remember I just was like, well, you know what? I'm not ready to be a millionaire. I'll be honest with you. I'd probably fuck it up. I come from a long line of drug addicts, and I'd probably start doing drugs and fucking buy a car, and I don't want to do that. So I'm not ready. I'm not ready to be a millionaire yet. I got a roommate. We just signed a lease, so I don't want to leave him hanging either. Because Katt's done some cool shit for me. I used to tell a story. I told on some podcasts. I don't think I ever told on stage, but it's a true story. right when Katt was blown up, like 2006, we had a show together in 2005 in Akron, Ohio. So we was at a college, and like we were like in a little room, and there was probably less than 100 kids there. And then 6 months later, he blew up. Because I remember I got a contract from my agent. They said, yeah, it's going to be you and Katt Williams at the Frank Irwin Center in Austin, Texas. That's the basketball arena. I said, why the fuck would they put me and Katt in the basketball arena? That shit going to be empty as fuck. I said, that shit's like 10,000 seats. And then I get there, that motherfucker's packed, right? And I walked on stage, I said, God damn. I didn't know he popped. And I was like, whoa, this is a different type of audience. Like, there wasn't one W-2 in that motherfucker, man. It was a cash-only crowd. I was like, nobody prepaid for these tickets. He literally sold 9,800 tickets the day of the show. So then, this is all a true story. So then, I remember I was on stage telling my jokes. I looked on the side, and Katt was getting ready to come on after me. That motherfucker had the big fur on and chains. I was like, what the fuck? You was Alley Cat 6 months ago. So then the show's over, and we're so the promoter had got us two separate limousines. So we're in two limousines, and Katt's limousine's behind me. And somehow he got caught in traffic or something, so he ended up like 15 minutes behind me. So I get back to the hotel, and I wanted to hang out for a little bit. So I asked my driver, I was like, yo, can I get the limo for a couple more hours? I want to hang out. And just to be honest, I'm divorced, so I can talk about it now. I had a couple females in the car, okay? I thought I was about to pop off that night. This is why I could never tell this story when I was married. But now, who gives a fuck? Yeah. I had a couple bad motherfucking thick motherfucking sisters. Should have seen the ass on this one, brother. God damn. Like, I would have been like, all right. With this chick's ass, there's not a man on earth that would be mad at me. You know? How the fuck you gonna cheat on your wife? You see that? Oh, okay. Well. I don't say I agree with that, but I do understand. So I got these females in the car, and the limo driver was like, yeah, it's gonna be $300 for the next couple hours. I was like, all right. So I tried to give my driver cash. He's like, oh, we don't accept cash. We need a credit card. I said, I can't put this shit on the credit card. My wife will see this shit. Why you cock blocking, driver? Because I think I was big up in myself in the limo. Yeah, this shit's mine for the night. Don't worry about it. Go ahead and drink up, ladies. This is all me. So this guy is not bending, though. He's like, nah, we don't take cash. It's credit card only, company policy. So as I'm having a discussion with my driver, Katt pulls up. And Katt gets right in the middle of our conversation. He goes, what's going on here? And I was like, nothing. I said, dude, I want the limo for a couple more hours, man. I was like, but the dude said he don't take cash, only takes credit cards. And I'm looking at Katt like, motherfucker, I got females in the car. I can't have my wife see this shit on the credit card. He goes, hold on, Gary. He takes my driver around the back of his limo, right? He's talking to him about 5 minutes. He comes back, and this is all he says to me. Never stops walking. He goes, he's yours for the evening, Gary. Enjoy your night. Oh, yes, they do accept cash. And kept walking. So I just remember the driver literally opened my motherfucking door and was standing like this. So now I get in the car. Now he's taking us to 6th Street where all the bars are in Austin, right? I swear to God, this motherfucker pulled in the club. I was like, how much money did Katt give you? I got out the car. I was on the motherfucking dance floor. I said, God damn, this motherfucker pulled in the club? So now we leave, right? We go back to the hotel. Nothing happened, right? I'm thinking, like, my flight's like at 10 a.m. This is like 3 in the morning at this point. I'm thinking I'm catching a cab to the airport. Like, this is before Uber. This is like 2006. So I get up the next morning, like 8. I head down to the lobby. My driver is still standing next to the car.
I mean, just like he was when I got out. I was like, how much fucking money? He goes, no, Mr. Williams told me to take you to the airport. I was like, Mr. Williams? To this day, I don't know how much fucking money Katt gave that dude. I was like, I always want to ask him, how much you give that motherfucking Austin that night? So that's why, you know, I ain't got no issues with Katt. That motherfucker, he hooked me up. That was a good motherfucking night, motherfucker. That was a fucking ball. So, that was a good night. I started rooting for the Texas Longhorns after that night. Like, I'm gonna root for them. Yeah, I gotta.
I was watching Club Shay Shay, as I almost do every week, and I love it when Shannon Sharp has comedians on. So he had Damon Wayans on, Sr., and I've always heard this about the Wayans family. I've done Little Man, so I've worked firsthand with Keenan, Sean, and Marlon, and I got to see how tight-knit their family is. And one thing that always resonated with me with the Wayans is they see each other, they kiss each other on the lips real quick. It's not awkward. You don't get the feeling there's incest going on. I don't want that to be the narrative, but it's a quick peck. And I was like, because you don't see it from men a lot. And I always thought that struck me, you know. But Damon told a couple stories, and I've always heard this about the Wayans. I heard Keenan is the godfather. Keenan is the reason that all this happened. The Wayans empire came about because of Keenan. He was the first one to take the jump to go to LA, got in with the right people, and I love hearing the stories of how, like, him, you know, Keenan, and then Damon came after Keenan, and Jerry Seinfeld and Jay Leno and all these other people used to go to Canners. You know exactly where the Canners are talking about in LA. We used to sit there late at night and write. They'd be sharing fries because they had no money. God, I miss those days, man. I was doing that in San Diego with somebody like Bobby Lee, Darren Carter, Nick Cannon to a lesser extent. But still, those are guys that I would be at restaurants at late at night going over jokes at a Denny's or an IHOP in San Diego when I first started. So when he said that, I was like, man, I remember them days. Because you just had so much hope and excitement as a stand-up. And but he told a story about Katt Williams. And he said, you know, Katt was just a ball of energy. And one thing Damon said he never did, he never told comedians what they could and couldn't say before they went up before him. He was like, if you got a joke, I just got to be funnier. I got to be better. And then he said, Katt opened for him in Vegas. And after that, he said, I got to put Katt on My Wife and Kids, which if you watch that sitcom, My Wife and Kids, it was good. When Katt was on it, that could have been my favorite character Katt's ever played in a movie or TV show. He was just so freaking funny. There's a dance battle scene, look it up on YouTube, where Damon and Katt are dance battling. Get out. It's too funny. And you can tell Damon's almost breaking when Katt's doing his dance moves and stuff. But he told the story of how he was in Vegas, Katt opened up for him, and that's where he's sitting. Katt was jumping, doing cartwheels and stuff. And I'm thinking, there's so many times I'll hear a story on a podcast or read a story in a book, and I'm like, I was there. I was there when that story happened. So the Damon story. I was in Vegas with my ex-wife. We were staying at the Hilton. That's where Damon and Katt was performing. I'm sitting there playing blackjack or craps. I see Katt walking by the Hilton, walking in the casino somewhere. I go, Katt, what's up? And we're both like, God, late 20s, early 30s. And no, neither of us said, we're doing all right, but we hadn't hit yet, right? And he comes over, start BSing. I just remember Katt had a tank top on. I think it was a Laker jersey and like 4 chains. Whether they were real or not, I don't know at that time. Katt wasn't boned like he is now, and he had a bodyguard with him. Katt was the only guy I know that was an opening act and had a bodyguard. So I see Katt. He's like, yo, what's up, Gary? You want to come to the show tonight? I'm opening up for Damon. And I was like, oh man, I think we had dinner plans. We was meeting some friends. And I said, well, hit me up, hit me up after the show. And then we just didn't connect after the show. Fast forward the next day. I'm on a JetBlue flight from Vegas to LA. Who gets on the flight? Katt. Now, at this time, JetBlue did not have first class. And Katt got on with all them chains on, a different jersey, and that bodyguard. I started thinking, Katt is rolling like he's anticipating he's about to come into some money. He's anticipating about to be a headliner. He's the only opening act I've ever seen with a bodyguard and chains. And I was just like, when Damon told that story, I was like, oh shit, I was there. I was there for that story. So it's funny you just think about those things and you're hearing it like, oh, I remember that. Because if you ask Damon, they was at the Hilton. That's where the show was. The old Hilton where Elvis used to perform and stuff. It's like right off the strip. That's where the show was. And then it reminded me of like, Will Packer sends me his book. I'm reading the first couple pages and he's telling the story of how they were getting ready to shoot Ride Along. Oh, no. Sorry. They were shooting Ride Along and Kevin booked his special at Madison Square Garden in the middle of production. And Kev was like, yo, Saturday, I'm filming my special, but Sunday was still a work day. So what I remember is I get the set that I haven't recorded yet. I'm getting ready to record the next day. I get there and I'm going through prep, like wardrobe and everything. And then Will had told me, yo, we all headed to New York. We're going to watch Kevin's special. We'll be back in the morning. He was like, I hope. And Will tells a story how Kev had the party. Carmelo Anthony has some party for Kevin after the show. All of a sudden bottles are popping. All of a sudden it's 3 a.m. And Will had to ask Carmelo, we got to get out of here. We got to be on set at like 8. New York to Atlanta. So they got Kevin out of there. They got on a private jet. They landed and came straight to set. And what I remember, what I remember about that day was I got there in the morning and everyone was telling me, yo, it was a late night last night. Everybody just landed. So Kev was in his trailer asleep. I'm wide awake. I had a good night's sleep. And I just remember Will and Tim Story, the director, comes to my trailer and they're just kind of hanging out, recapping the night before. They're like, man, thank God we had a private. We had to drag Kevin out of there. We don't need him for a couple hours. We're going to let him rest. But yeah, we're going to be we're going to be struggling today on set. And then Will talks about it in his book. And I'm like, I remember that day. I was there for that, So it's just funny, like, people tell these stories, and you're like, I was a part of that in a roundabout way, or I was there to, connect the dots in my own brain, and for you guys too. So I was just like, it's kind of cool. I guess it's kind of cool, right?
So, anyways, another thing that I'm talking about people mad. This one kind of hurt though. Like when I saw, let me start with the Katt thing. I saw Katt on Joe Rogan. He finally got on Joe Rogan. Completely disappointed in the interview, just because I had an expectation that Joe and Katt was going to address what Katt said about Joe Rogan on Club Shay Shay. I thought Katt was going to go on there and Joe would bring it up or Katt would bring it up, and neither of them brought it up. It was 3 hours of aliens, Earth, history, two very smart individuals that know a lot about history, that clearly are smarter than me when it comes to that stuff. But I was fine for a while, but I was like, I realized I watched all 3 hours, and then it was over, and I went, whoa, who are the 6 comics? Who are the 6 comics that Katt said are funny? I think we narrowed it down to about 10, but we don't know who the 6 are. And it never got brought up. And I'm like, The whole reason Katt got on Joe was he went on Club Shay Shay and goes, Joe Rogan's got the same 6 comics. That's never been funny. And then it got back to Joe. And then Joe said, I'd love to have Katt on. I'm a big fan of his. And I'm going, nobody's going to bring this up? I kept fast forward like a little bit. Like, boom, they were talking about the pyramids, Sodom and Gomorrah, aliens. It was a lot of history. Like, some of it was interesting. Some of it dragged for me. Other people probably ate it up and loved it. But for me, I just wanted I wanted to hear, not dirt, I wanted to hear Katt and Joe's different ideas on what makes a good stand-up. How did Katt make it? Why they haven't met after all these years, which is mind-boggling to me. Joe, maybe how Joe got wind of Katt. Do they have any stories from the Comedy Store back in the day? Because clearly Joe's been at the Comedy Store when it was Fat Tuesday was jumping. I remember going there and seeing him. He wouldn't perform, but everybody knew Tuesday night was a black night. And you see all the white comics in the back hallway watching. So I just thought, I wish there was more stories about that. And it was just a big history lesson. So selfishly, I was disappointed in the interview. For me, not saying it was a bad interview. Some people probably loved it. But for me, I was disappointed because I wanted to know who the 6 was. And I wanted just for shits and giggles. And then I just wanted to know more stand-up talk is what I wanted, basically. I wanted more stand-up talk. But what I was saying was a disappointing thing I saw, and I haven't addressed it yet. It's been a couple weeks, and I was like, should I bring it up? But, going back to Club Shay Shay and Katt and Monique, who have set the comedy world on fire to start 2024 off. But Monique's back and forth with her son a couple weeks ago. It's kind of died down since. But it hurt because regardless of how I feel about Monique, like I said, I don't wish bad things on anybody. I just still think she was wrong for how she compared Will Packer to Harvey Weinstein. And now that when her son came out and started talking, and I think her son got a lot of views and a lot of hits, and so he made a couple more videos. Because let me tell you, you go viral once, you're trying to recapture it. It's intoxicating if you've never had it. Especially when you say something, people start gassing you up, like saying, you're right, you're right, you're right. Now, for me, outsider looking in, being a stand-up, having kids that aren't talking to me, I think this hit home with me a lot harder than some other videos because when her son said, it was just money for me. The relationship was just about finances and things like that. But you weren't really there. Like, emotionally, you wasn't there for me, basically. And then he said, when Monique and her husband say, we're here for you whenever you're ready. We're here. And he goes, what is that to say? I go, well, in that instance, I'm on Monique's side. She's probably saying, hey, we keep reaching out and we keep getting stonewalled. So at some point, we got to stop. And then whenever you're ready, come to us. And then we could hopefully start healing and moving on and getting back to some kind of relationship. So I don't wish bad things on people. I hope Monique and her son can someday reconcile. Williams went on V103 morning show in Atlanta and completely, just no filter, went in on Lil Rel, Gerald Carmichael, Tiffany Haddish, Kevin Hart a little bit. And it's one thing to say you're out of line, or to give your opinion. I think with Katt, it was a little bit. Hold on a second. Sorry, my son's blowing me up. Doing podcast. Sorry about this. That was a commercial break. That's when your son is on the other side of the country and he called you 4 times while you're doing your podcast, and he gives you 5. I just text him, I'll be done. It's an emergency. He's still calling me. The ADHD runs in my family. I got it. That's why my podcast, I'll be going on rants and then get on another rant. And my son definitely has it too. Like, that dude gets transfixed and he will blow me up. And I'm like, what's up? Hey, can you order me some food? Like, what? Yeah, can you order me some food, Dad? So I was talking about Katt Williams. So Katt goes in with Wanda and there's this lady named Wanda Smith, and she's been on Atlanta radio for I'm guessing 20 years. Wanda's a very nice lady, and Katt is I think he's so intelligent and he's so smart. I don't know. It's like, I think every genius has a bit of crazy in him, and I think that's what Katt is. I think definitely he's a comedic genius, but he also got a bit of crazy in him. So he goes in and says, he's offended that Tiffany Haddish that people are calling her the queen of comedy, and she doesn't have enough comedy specials, and she hasn't been on a tour and things of that nature. And so, I see where Katt's going with this, because when you say somebody's the queen of comedy, you're thinking stand-up, where Tiffany isn't known as a stand-up. She's pretty much known from Girls Trip, and that's what took her to another level. Very similar to Melissa McCarthy. She's very much become the black Melissa McCarthy. How Melissa McCarthy came in with Bridesmaids, and everybody was funny in that movie, but she clearly stood out. Girls Trip comes out, and to be in a cast with Queen Latifah, Jada Pinkett, Regina Hall, and then Tiffany. And when I first heard about the movie and heard it got casted, I thought Tiff was going to be like supporting. Then when I saw it, I was like, whoa, no, that's her movie. It reminded me very much of Think Like a Man, where Romney, when the movie came about, Romney was going to be the narrator, and then it turned into Kevin ended up becoming the narrator, and because Kevin just started taking off after we casted it and everything, and now with when I saw Girls Trip, that's a Regina Hall was clearly the centerpiece, and it was Jada Pinkett, Queen Latifah, and Tiffany revolving around Regina, but Regina was a centerpiece of that movie. But Tiffany was just so wild in it that she stuck out. And then she started just getting offered roles after roles. And that, I said, again, damn it. So her stand-up, she's never been known for her stand-up, even though she's been on Def Jam and she had a Showtime special and she just signed a deal with Netflix. Katt did say something that was valid. Can you tell me your favorite Tiffany Haddish joke? You can't. She hasn't done anything in the stand-up realm that has stuck out. Similar to Tiffany was in, she was in Keanu, she was in the Carmichael Show and bit parts in other movies, but she didn't do anything that resonated and really stuck out, which happens a lot in this business. Hell, Kevin Hart was in Along Came Polly and that movie Eddie Murphy, Meet Dave and stuff. But really, Soul Plane, okay, he was the lead, and that became like a hood classic. But then Think Like a Man, boom, really blew Kevin out of the water. Tiffany was the same way, and I think Katt was more saying, stop saying she's the queen of comedy when she hasn't done enough as a stand-up. And there's other people out there, other females out there, like Katt brought up Lunel and Melanie Camacho. Those are people that Katt took on the road. So basically, Katt's basically like, in my opinion, Tiffany's not funny, is what he was saying as a stand-up. But then and to me, female comedians, it's tough, man. It's tough. This is a male-dominated business, and I've heard females say being attractive and being a female is a hindrance. Because it's hard. You see a pretty female, you don't think she's going to be goofy and you're going to laugh like that. But I like Tiffany a lot. I do. But as far as stand-up, I don't think she's the funniest stand-up comedian out there. But I'm not knocking her at all. I mean, to me, the funniest, just in my opinion, the funniest female stand-up is Samore, to me. Samore, I've been on the road with her. She always brings it. She's always writing. And I'm like, God, she's really good. She's strong. She's the strongest female stand-up to me out there, in my opinion. Now, it's funny when I say I don't think Tiffany's the funniest female out there, people will twist your words to say I don't think Tiffany's funny. That's not what I said. I said I don't think she's the funniest female stand-up, in my opinion. So now when people say she's the queen of comedy, and I think Jamie Foxx is the one. Jamie Foxx has really been all over Tiffany since Girls Trip because she was brilliant in that role. And that role led to basically open the doors for her completely. But you don't knock somebody's hustle for that. I like what Sinbad said on the Breakfast Club a while back. He was like, he goes, when I don't get a role and I see guys younger than me or other people that I feel like I should have got it and they come up, he goes, I'm not mad at them for getting that because we're all chasing the same thing. So if you get something that I'm chasing, that just means it was meant for you. And I'm not going to hate on you because at the end of the day, Adrian Bronner, you're just trying to make a living and make money like other stand-ups are that move out to Hollywood and New York and try to make it. So you can't knock somebody else's hustle because they get a part that you was up for. Sometimes things are out of your control completely. I found out Tiffany had to audition for Girls Trip 3 times. They kept bringing her in because they wanted a big name, and she wasn't a big name. And then she just had to keep bringing it. And they was like, all right, she keeps bringing it. We're going to give it to her. And even when I saw her on some of the award shows, Tiffany had said she was talking to the casting director. She goes, I came in for you numerous times and didn't get parts. But the stars aligned, and she was ready for this role in Girls Trip. And now she's taken off. But I think Katt was more talking about her stand-up. She hasn't done a tour and things of that nature. Now, he also went in on Lil Rel. He went in on Hannibal Buress and Carmichael from, Jared Carmichael from the Carmichael Show. Now, I get what he's saying when he talks about they'll give Jared Carmichael a special that nobody's going to watch. The same thing with the Carmichael Show. I did a joke one time. I had Lil Rel on my Instagram, and I said, he's on the best black sitcom that nobody's watching. And Lil Rel was like, what? And I think it's similar. I used to watch Carmichael's Show, and it was brilliant. It was brilliant. Just like Blackish is I think Blackish has come a long way. But the Carmichael Show, it never resonated. It never stuck with at least the people I associate myself with and the people that I talk to. And I was like, so I think what Katt was saying was, can anybody name their favorite Carmichael episode from the Carmichael Show? And you really can't. And Tiffany was on that show. Lil Rel was on that show. Now, Lil Rel, same thing. So you got a TV show, and you got a guy named Lil Rel, and you got a girl named Tiffany Haddish. And if you ask them, everybody be like, what? They was on that? Because it's for whatever reason, it just didn't hit and resonate. Now, Lil Rel, supposedly amongst the novice comedy fans, hit with Get Out. But he was in a bunch of stuff before that. And now he's taken off. He got Uncle Drew, and he's passed some movies up. Now he's got Rel coming out on Fox. Now I think Rel is going to be very similar to the Carmichael Show, in my opinion. I think it's, I know Lil Rel, and I know Sinbad's on it, and Jess Hilarious is on it, and DC Young Fight's in it. So they casted a bunch of comedians, which I always think is smart. Cast comedians in there, put a couple actors in there, but put a couple comedians in a sitcom that you want to be funny, because I think comedians' natural instinct is going to be correct most of the time, rather than a writer. Have the writer should just be like, the writer is almost like when you think of NFL team, he's like an offensive coordinator. They're just writing the plays down. You got to get athletes and you got to get ball players in there to deliver those lines. And I think comedians, we can see something funny and bring it to life more than people that aren't comedians. Now bring in some seasoned actors to like facilitate it, keep that train rolling. Almost like NBA, when you watch NBA on TNT. I mean, Shaq and Barkley are the best, and then Kenny Smith. But you got Ernie on there. Ernie's the guy that keeps that train rolling and brings it back together and grounds everybody. So I think with Rel Show, I think it's going to be similar to that. I think it's going to be similar to the Carmichael Show. I'm sure it's going to be good and great, but I don't think people are going to be like, whoa, gotta watch Rel this week. And that's just the state of TV, period. More people are on their phones and on Netflix, and there's so many outlets for people's attention span to go to. Sitcoms aren't what they used to be. It used to be that was the golden ticket. When I first got to LA in the late 90s, it was you got to get on a sitcom and you felt like you made it. Now there's so many people on sitcoms and you wouldn't even know it. Just because there's so many other TV channels and things to watch. It's almost, I mean, reality show people are more famous than people on sitcoms without question anymore. You rather be the third lead in a reality show or the third lead in a sitcom. Third lead in a reality show, Real Housewives and Love and Hip Hop, those people, they're getting booked at club appearances and stopped at airports more than the third lead of a sitcom. There's a guy out there now, Tone Bell. Tone Bell opened for me in Dallas like 10 years ago. And he's funny dude. He's been on, I bet you, 8 sitcoms in the past 5 years. He'll get on one and then he'll get canceled and they'll cast him in another one. But Tone Bell at the airport won't get stopped hardly at all. And that guy's continually on a sitcom year after year after year. Damon Wayans Jr. In Hollywood, dude, they're beating down the door to work with that dude. He'll go sitcom to sitcom to sitcom to sitcom. But the novice comedy people and the people aren't in the industry will be like, Damon Wayans got a son? They wouldn't even know it. That's the state we're in right now. Just my reality show. I mean, it didn't. Here's the thing about my reality show, the Gary Owen Show. We premiered the same week as Insecure in Atlanta. I'm like two, basically, or what is really becoming iconic shows. I was up against. I was on the same time as ATL, same time. So I would get on Twitter and I'm trying to tweet about my show, and then I would be like, "What the fuck is this Atlanta show?" Because that was trending everywhere. I go, "Who the fuck is Donald Glover?" Why is the Gary Owen Show not trending? And just for whatever reason, and you'll go crazy trying to figure it out. It is what it is. So why did Atlanta resonate? I don't know, but it did, and it resonated with the millennials. And I watched the show every week. I didn't watch it when my show was on, but trust, I DVR it and watch it. And then I have to watch my show 10 times to try to get the ratings of Atlanta. But that's the thing. Nowadays, sitcoms on network TV, as far as like Fox, ABC, CBS, NBC, I think you're getting a watered down version of what people really want. Where if you get on cable TV or you get on Netflix, you can almost hit them a little raw with things, because Atlanta hits, because I don't think they have as many eyes on it editing it. And the biggest complaint you'll ever hear amongst people on sitcoms is they think they got something funny and good, and a network exec will be like, "Nope, I don't like it. Take it out." We went through that with I think every show you go through that. Even when I had the Gary Owen Show on BET, we would get notes from different people at BET, and one person be like, "I got a note like this one time." So we send it off, and this lady at BET said, "Well, when Gary got baptized at the church, he moonwalked after he got out of the pool or the jacuzzi where I got baptized. He moonwalked out. That's going to be offensive to black people." And I was thinking, no, it isn't. I was celebrating getting baptized, so I moonwalked out. That's just funny. I was like, sometimes I think execs at networks, they have to give notes to validate their job. And I think that's why network sitcoms aren't as good as they could be, because there's too many people trying to validate themselves with notes. I would love to hear stories of writers and actors on sitcoms that it's turned in a script and a network said, "Great, shoot it." I don't think it's ever happened in the history of TV. I don't think anybody's put in a sitcom, went boom. Maybe not a sitcom, but maybe Shonda Rhimes. I heard Shonda Rhimes, because she said such success in hit show after hit show. I heard she has a deal where you can't give notes when she turns something in, but she doesn't do sitcoms either. She does drama, and I can't speak on drama. I can just speak from people that I know that have been on sitcoms. They're like, "God damn, we had something really funny, dude," and the networks gave notes, and now it's not as good. It's the nature of the beast. But I like how I like how Katt went on there and gave his honest opinion, whether I agree with it or not. Some things I agree with, some things I didn't. But whatever Katt does, it created a firestorm, and now everybody's talking about Katt and everything. And then the funny shit is, so Katt goes back and forth with Wanda Smith on V103, and then her husband shows up at the comedy club where Katt was at on Saturday and pulls out a gun on Katt. I'm like, dude, if you're in this comedian game, if you play the dozen of somebody and you go back and forth on the radio, sometimes you'll get the best of them. Sometimes they'll get the best of you. And I don't know. I heard that Katt beelined it over to Wanda. Now the story is Wanda showed up at Uptown Comedy Theater in Atlanta. Katt beelined it over to her and was like, I told you I would make you go viral. I told you. And like, I don't know if he got in her personal space or business, but her husband's like, just go on, man. It ain't about that. Just go on. Keep it moving. And Katt wouldn't. He goes, dude, I'll jump you. Katt's not going to jump anybody. Let's be honest. And if he is, what's he really going to do? I mean, he's not that big, dude. I don't know how big Wanda Sykes' husband is. I'm sorry, not Wanda Sykes. Wanda Smith's husband is, but I'm sure he's bigger than Katt. So I guess they get in a verbal argument, and then a gun got pulled, and I don't know what happened after that. I've heard different versions, but as a comedian, man, you got to have thick skin, and your spouse has to have thick skin. Especially being a woman in this business, I can't even imagine being a spouse to a female comedian, because I said, again, Jesus Christ, I'm gonna get through this, people, one day. That just comes with it, man. You get bagged on a lot. That's the beauty, and that's why the Comedy Central roasts are so popular, because they throw in what everybody's really saying about that person, but then they say, but it's not, they're kidding too. I said, again, fuck. This is going to be called the podcast because I say it so much. They throw in what people really said about that person, and then you throw in a little lighthearted jab, but then you'd be like, but we still love you. But we still love you. And I think that's what Katt was getting at with Tiffany. It's hard not to like Tiffany. I've known Tiffany for 18 years. You're around her. It's just hard not to like her. Same with Kevin. And that's the thing that Katt didn't bring up in this business. The likability is huge in this business. If you like somebody, you want to work with them. And I think Tiffany's just so likable, and her energy's positive, and she grinded for so long, and you could tell she's just appreciative of everything she's getting right now. So don't knock somebody's hustle, but I think people get it confused when Katt gives his honest opinion on things. And I think with Carmichael and Lil Rel and Hannibal Buress, he was saying networks are trying to make these guys movie stars and TV stars. And he's like, but you don't know who they are. They sit around, you don't know who they are. But I don't know. I think Katt was mainly commenting on the industry and not those individuals themselves. Because, we always say there's people famous between the 405 and the 10. And that's where a lot of the studios are in Hollywood. And there's people that the industry gives chance after chance after chance to be the lead in a sitcom, to be in a show. And the show goes away, and then they'll give them another chance. And the show goes to give them another chance. And I think a lot of times comics' frustrations go, God damn, man, I'm selling more tickets. I got a fan base. People want to see me on TV, or they want to see me in movies. And you keep casting the same people. Why don't they switch it up and give somebody else a chance? You drive yourself crazy thinking like that. You drive yourself crazy. I always listened to Bill Burr one time. I had a conversation with Bill Burr at the airport. We just sat down bullshit, and he just said, he goes, man, I'm just going to be so fucking funny they can't deny me. I'm just going to be so funny. I said, I just need to hear that. I was like, yeah, man. I know I just try to be as funny as I can on the road, as funny I can when I get my chances on TV, and you hope one day somebody sees it, the right person sees it, and then they start putting you in stuff. And that's how I got the parts in Ride Along and Think Like a Man. I had a personal relationship with Will Packer, and I was like, he thought I was funny, but he gave me a shot, and we also gave Kevin a shot. That's where Kevin just blew out the water. But personal relationships are big in this business. So I was happy to see Katt go to the Emmys, and then he bowed down to Tiffany. And I think I don't know what he said. I don't want to put words into Katt's mouth, but he probably was saying, I didn't say you weren't funny. I was just saying I didn't think you were the queen of comedy right now. And in there, I agree with Katt on that end. As far as stand-up, Tiffany's funny, but I don't think she's the funniest out there to call her the queen of comedy. To me, Samore's the funniest female out there. That's just my opinion. But I'm not saying Tiffany isn't funny. I'm saying I don't think she's the funniest comedian, in my opinion. It's similar to like Margaret Cho and Janine Garoppolo. Every time I saw their stand-ups, I never got it. I was like, I don't get it. And I wouldn't laugh. But then I'd see people in the audience going nuts. And they both got fan bases. And I was like, I'm not knocking them. I'm not saying they're not funny. I'm just saying, to me, I wouldn't pay to see them. Or to me, I don't think that's not my type of humor. But there's people that my shit ain't their type of humor. I'm not stupid. There's a lot of people out there that are probably like, Gary, I don't think that shit's funny. I get it. I mean, that's the beauty of comedy. You find your fan base and you hopefully you build and you grow with your fan base, and they tell more people and you bring them in, and your fan base just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. But there's always going to be people that don't think you're funny. That's just the nature of the beast. There's no way, there's not any comic out there that everyone's like, yeah, he's the best. I was watching a YouTube video where somebody must have bootlegged, or they snuck Dave Chappelle and D-Ray and Dion Cole were on stage together. And I'm guessing it was D-Ray's Monday night. D-Ray does Monday nights at Improv. He's been that Monday nights at the Improv has been going on for probably 25 years. And D-Ray's probably been the regular host there the last 15 at least, I bet, years. And so here's the thing about D-Ray. And I love D-Ray to death. But don't go to the Improv on Monday if you're a decent name comedian and think you're just going to sit in the audience. D-Ray has a way of sneaking you up on that stage, and then you're stuck. And then the crowd gives you a big smile, and then you got to tell some jokes. Did it to me a couple times on Monday nights. So it was interesting. Like, Dave went up there, and D-Ray was hosting, and Dave came up. And it was some cool little banter. And then Dave started going in on Katt. He started talking about Katt's thing and everything, and then D-Ray was disagreeing with Dave. And if you haven't seen it, and I know it's bootleg, and you're not stealing material here, I don't like when people bootleg shows, but I'm glad this person had their phone out and caught this organic moment on camera. So search it. It's all over YouTube and stuff. And it's very cool to see, because you have two comedians, Dave Chappelle and D-Ray Davis, and they're in complete disagreement about the Katt interview. And a lot of times when you get someone at a level of a Chappelle, a lot of comedians will kind of bow down a little bit, and they won't challenge his way of thinking, especially to him in person. And it was very cool to see D-Ray sticking to his guns. And I wasn't watching it to agree or disagree. I was actually enjoying the banter and interaction, because it never got disrespectful. It never got like, how dare you say that? Dave gave his point of view, and D-Ray gave his point of view. And as I watch it, I'm sitting there going, okay, I see where Dave's coming from, and I see where D-Ray's coming from. And there were certain points I agree with Dave and D-Ray, but I think D-Ray said it best. When Chappelle was like, Katt was ethering brothers, and he didn't talk about any of the white boys. Well, there's some validity to that. When D-Ray, when Dave was like, he never like ethered any white guys or anything like that. He just talked about black men, basically. My name did come up, but he didn't ether me, so to speak. And I think Dave was like, you would never say anything to cost somebody money. And I said on my podcast a couple weeks ago, I was like, nobody lost money because of that. And that's where I would disagree with Dave on it, because I feel like everybody benefited, whether for or against. Your name was mentioned in the biggest podcast comedy interview in YouTube's history. And that's a good thing, because I don't think it cost anybody work. I don't think Cedric's selling less tickets. Steve's selling less. Well, Steve doesn't do stand-up anymore. It didn't cost Steve a TV job. Ricky, it didn't cost him anything. It actually gave Ricky content to talk about on his radio station. And if anybody's got a podcast, you should benefit by talking about it because now you're in the algorithms. Like I said, I'm like, everybody benefits. So I disagree with Dave that he costs people money. He actually made everybody money, is what Katt did. And D-Ray said it best. I think D-Ray, the biggest thing he said that I was like, Dave was like, I had a special come out on New Year's Eve. And that's the one thing I noticed most of was nobody was talking about Chappelle's special because Katt's interview came out a few days after and it ethered the internet. And so for Dave to have a special come out, he didn't get the reaction he's used to getting. And D-Ray said, look, Dave, you had an album. Katt had a mixtape, Unexpected. And I go, oh, my God. That was the perfect analogy for Dave's special and Club Shay Shay's podcast. And Dave had to pause. If you watch it, Dave pauses. And Dave doesn't pause a lot. He's very much on Katt's level as far as intellect. And I think deep down, it made so much damn sense. Dave almost had to redirect his train of thought. You could see him almost like, wow, that makes sense. And I watched it 3-4 times. And I just enjoyed the back and forth. D-Ray didn't back down. He stuck to his guns. And Dave was trying to make sense what he was talking about. He said, Dave said, hurt people. He goes, but I'm a hurt person, and I've never hurt anybody. And then he also mentioned how he had the special come out. And I was like, oh, maybe Dave didn't like it. And I'm just being devil's advocate here. Maybe Dave didn't like it because he didn't get the reaction he normally gets from a special, and he didn't get the traction he normally gets. In the end, Dave's going to be fine, but it happens. These type of things happen, and you don't know when it's going to happen. Dave Chappelle to drop a special and nobody's talking about it tells you the power that Katt Williams has and that interview had. At the Funny Bone, and then January 26th through the 28th, I'm in Irvine, California at the Improv. And February 2nd through the 4th, I'm in Tampa, Florida at the new Funny Bone. It's no longer the Improv, it's the Funny Bone. And then Super Bowl weekend, I'm January 8th through the 10th. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then Valentine's Day, I'll be in Arlington, Texas at the Improv. And then February 16th through the 18th, I'm in Orlando, Florida. That's enough. I don't need to go any farther back. What a week. What a week. I got a lot to get into. I just found out that the studio I record at is the same place where Stephen A. Smith recorded last week, or this week's his podcast. And it was funny because I'm watching it, and I really enjoy Stephen A. Smith's podcast. And I was watching it, one of his clips, and he was talking about Joe Coy and the Oscars, and I'll get into that in a second. But as I'm watching, I'm going, that looks really familiar. And he had his graphic at the bottom. But I'm sitting there watching it going, that looks super familiar. Sure enough, this is where he recorded it, where I record my podcast. He recorded his while he was in Houston. And I was like, I knew it. And I got here, and the engineer that does my show, he was like, yo, we had Stephen A. Smith here yesterday, record his podcast. I go, I freaking knew it. I'm sitting there watching it like, I know that lighting. I know this microphone. And I go, man, this is and I kept watching going, this is a very simple backdrop right here. And you're a good podcaster. I'm not to my own porn when you got no distractions. Like you're just watching that person's face and listening to that person, and there's no like gadgets, there's no pictures behind it, nothing. It's just, that's it. Just talking by yourself to a microphone. You don't have a guest or nothing. But that's always one of the best. So, I don't know. That had nothing to do with anything, but I thought it was funny. So, it's a week later. Everybody's still reeling from the Katt Williams interview. He's still killing it. As I record this, let's see where he's at right now. Because every time somebody goes, you see he got this much on Club Shay Shay. We are at, let's see. As I go to 40 million. He's at 40 million. God. And here's the thing. We all won in this. We all, whether Katt talks bad about you, good about you, a week later, we all won. I said it last week. If he brought you up, you're relevant. And it's one of those interviews like Katt's ticket sales. Katt was already selling a gang of tickets, but now, ping! I just saw where I did my New Year's Eve show every year, the Texas Trust Theater. Katt added a second show in March. He's coming, and then he's just. I mean, his ticket prices went up and everything, and it's rare in this business that you have somebody of Katt's cloth who's already won the top, right? And then I think he's been kind of like hamster on a hamster wheel. He's selling a lot of tickets, but there hasn't been that boom again. Katt's had about 2 or 3 different times in his career where he just went boom, and he was in everybody's lexicon. Everybody was talking about Katt. And this is one of them times. Again, just reminding people who he is and how his name, and when you put him in certain settings and he becomes this force of nature, everybody gravitates. You know you're big, and you know this interview is moving when they are interviewing people on the Golden Globes red carpet and they're bringing Katt's name up. Oh, you didn't get it from Katt. Nobody got it from you. He didn't talk about you, or he did talk about you. It was just one of those moments in time. And Katt's had about 2-3 of them in his career where it just, when I say everybody was talking about it. And this was it. And it's not that he needed a career boost, but it did boost it, even to a higher level. There's always another level you think you can get to. I always say, like, as a comedian, if you sell 10,000 tickets, you want to go back and sell 11,000. And this is just one of them things, man. People were mad that he didn't bring their name up. Mike Epps was like, well, why didn't Katt bring my name up? They interviewed D-Ray. D-Ray brought it up. I mean, people were not mad. We were laughing about it. But it's like, I never seen nothing like it off a podcast. And, you know, Katt benefited the most off this, and Shannon Sharp. But I would dare to say, as far as like in a positive light and everything, I think I was third in all this. I think I wasn't talked bad about. Nobody said anything bad about me. And the things that Katt went off on people, I look back and I go, I don't think anybody could ever accuse me of that. Nobody's ever accused me of stealing a joke. I don't think anybody's ever accused me of being just an asshole. Nobody's like Gary's ego's out of control. And I don't know. This was just, I never seen nothing like it. And you know what's funny about all this is, you know, I made certain posts. I've been doing this podcast since I think last May I came back. So this is January. So February, March, April. So 8 months I've had this particular podcast in this studio by myself with no guest. You know, after my divorce, I had to revamp everything. My podcast went away for about a year, and then I brought it back. So now that since my podcast came back, every week I tell stories about the week that I had, the week I got coming up. I might do an entertainment story. Listen, I'm not that guy to tell people's personal business like that. What everybody does on their personal time, that's it. But we'll share stories about things that happened to me. Hence the Steve Harvey story last week. That was the most clickbait thing I've ever seen on the internet. Like, people just say Gary Owen gripes about Steve Harvey and Steve Harvey doesn't pay. But if you really listen to what I said, I said numerous times, this isn't on Steve. This isn't about Steve necessarily. It's about the production, the studio. and what I was getting at was similar to what Katt. The reason I brought up the Steve Harvey story last week is because I felt like it was an example of what Katt was talking about, of how I haven't really, quote unquote, crossed over. Because really what the story was about was the white producer, the white PAs, everybody behind the scenes that basically wasn't black treated me like I should be like thanking my lucky stars I was on the Steve Harvey show. Like I had nothing else going on in my life. And I see people don't really listen because this was Steve Harvey's talk show. This was in 2017. This wasn't the Steve Harvey show, and it wasn't Steve Harvey radio show. It was the talk show when he moved it from Chicago to LA in 2017. This is when this all happened. And I'm already headlining. I'm making a ton of money on the road. And, you know, these execs, the way they treated me was like I was some newbie that I should be thankful that I even have this opportunity. I'm thankful for every opportunity I have to be in front of the camera. And that story was a double-edged sword for me because, one, I had Steve, who I still respect. I got nothing. He's never really, I can't say, done anything wrong to me. I mean, Think Like a Man was his baby, so to speak. And I'm sure he could have nixed that. If somebody would have came and said Gary Owen is in the movie, Steve could have been like, nah, I don't want him. He talks shit about me. That could have happened. So I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. Katt's Katt, and Katt will go in with no filter and doesn't care about the repercussions, and he's secure in who he is. I'm just different, and it's fine. I'm not like that. I guess, and it could be good and bad. I generally want people to like me, and if you don't, I'm like, why don't you? It could be a character flaw. Why don't you like me? What did I do wrong? And when people don't like me, I want to like get to the root of the problem and be like, why don't you like me? Let's work it out. Let's be friends. I don't know why I'm like that. So when I was telling the Steve Harvey story last week, that was really what it was about. It wasn't about like I wasn't getting paid like I should and everything. It was more like these execs behind the scenes treated me like complete and utter shit, for less of a better word. I mean, the way they was talking to me and ordered me around, and when that guy just looked at me when I said, I'm not going down there to use that bathroom. You need to find me a dressing room with a bathroom. But that was really what the story was about. Now, there is some validity to why didn't Steve ever call when I didn't show up that Monday and say, what happened, Gary? What's going on? What do we got to do to work this out? And, it's a numbers game. If they couldn't pay me what I felt like, I could have walked away and been like, hey, thanks for the 2 weeks, and it didn't work out. We tried. But I think what bothered me and almost hurt me a little bit was like, I was really trying to be a team player with this. I really wanted this to work. I wanted to be on the show. But I didn't want to be behind the scenes and only hearing my voice. I wanted to add value to the show, and I wanted to work, and I wanted to write sketches and be in sketches and things of that nature. And, so just didn't work out. I have no ill will towards Steve or anything like that. I would love to work with him again. And I think the story was twofold for me. It was one, it was piggybacking off what Katt said. And it was also like, I always wondered if Steve knew, because I don't have Steve's cell number. I'm not going to DM him with this. He's a busy dude. Last thing I want to do is like, even when it happened, call him. Be like, hey man, your people aren't taking care of me. To me, I was like, I just keep it moving in my career. I'm like, if I feel wanted and I feel valued, that's where I go. And I didn't feel that on the show. And like, Steve's got so much shit going on. I'm just like, I'm not going to bother him with this. The producers and the studio clearly didn't value me. And so I was like, all right, I'm out, But I know I could have helped that show. I know I could have. That was right up my alley. man, I had so many good ideas. I couldn't believe it. So I see people when you do, like, I cut up a clip of the Steve Harvey one last week. I cut up a clip of why I walked away from my Fox deal. And then we cut up a clip of what was the other one? I had 3 clips. Hold on. I had 3 clips last week. I had that one and God, I'm getting old. And just we cut up a clip of when Katt first started talking about me. I was like, hey, what's Katt saying about me? So I thought the thing about those clips, I heard somebody say, like, oh, I see you, not one person, a couple of people was like, I see you capitalizing on this Katt thing. Duh. I better. When you can get in the algorithms and your name comes up in an iconic interview like that in a positive light, yeah, my podcast, my platform that I'm talking about my life, I'm going to talk about it. And I'm going to share some experiences I've had that it's not to add validity to what Katt said last week. It's just, hey, I'm telling you what I went through. I've got great stories. I got some bad stories. I got stories that I was like, I couldn't believe that happened. Let me think. Okay, how I got the part in Daddy Daycare. Since I feel like last week it was more like why I turned down my Fox deal, why I quit the Steve Harvey show. So I remember when Daddy Daycare came about, I had an audition for an Eddie Griffin movie, and it was called I think it was called My Baby Mama. Let me look. I think that was the movie. But I've been working on this audition for like a week. I think it was called Baby Mama. I think was it Baby Mama? Yeah, My Baby's Daddy. That's what it was. Yeah, My Baby's Daddy. So I thought I was coming in for audition for My Baby's Daddy, and I remember I was in my truck and I was driving, and my agent at the time called and he's like, Gary, we got audition for the Eddie Murphy movie. I said, no, Eddie Griffin. He goes, no, Eddie Murphy. I said, no, my Eddie Griffin audition. He goes, no, Gary, we have an audition for an Eddie Murphy movie, and it was that day. And I was like, oh. I said, I don't have time to prepare. They go, no, it's before your My Baby Daddy audition. And they was like, it's just a couple lines. Just go in there and rock it out. I said, all right. I'm in my truck. This is before we had iPhones. You had to get your sides emailed or faxed to you. I got nowhere to get them. They said, just get to the Fox lot early. And they was like, let's look at the sides and, go to your car for an hour. So I get the sides. It wasn't a huge part. It was the carrot and the broccoli and Daddy Daycare. I go down to my truck. I'm looking at the lines, and I'm like, all right. It wasn't short. It was like, hey, boys and girls, we got a brand new cereal, Veggios. And then it was, that was pretty much it, So I went in, and when I got there, they said, hey, you're going to audition for 2 different parts. And they were both very small parts. One of them was somebody that worked at the cereal company with Eddie. It was like 2 lines. I did that audition first, and they kind of went, the execs in the room. Remember, Steve Carr was there, the director. John Davis, one of the producers, was there. And then they said, okay, you want to do the next one? I said, yeah. And what I did, I was there, and a bunch of the kids in the movie was auditioning. So I went out in the lobby, and I asked this mom, I said, hey, can I borrow your son real quick? And she looked at me, and I brought this kid in the room, and I started snaking around him, right? I was doing this. And then that's when I made up the song. I was like, BROCCOLI. I am the broccoli and don't know why. CARRONT. Carrots are healthy for you and me. And I just made the song up. And literally I was spelling broccoli like as I was in the audition. I was like, BROCCOL. Am I spelling this right? And then and I knew I got the part in the room because they were dying. And then Steve Carr actually walked out with me. We got in the elevator, and he told me I got it without telling me. He goes, bro, you killed. You killed. Where you from? When they start asking you personal questions after an audition, you killed it. If they just be like, thank you, keep it moving, yeah, you don't know if you killed it or not. But if they start talking to you afterwards, yeah, you killed it. So I got a call like literally an hour later, like, you got it. I was like, whoa. And then I remember when we went to film Daddy Daycare, I didn't get the part of My Baby Daddy, but I was on house money at that point. I was like, I don't care. So we went to go film. As soon as we get there, we're on set. I just did the lines the first take when I was in the broccoli outfit. I was just like, I just started doing it. And I remember Steve, the director, was like, cut, Gary, where's the song? And I was like, oh, I didn't know if you wanted it. And he goes, that's how you got the part. I was like, oh. So I better sing the song. So that was funny how that came about. And then I was trying to think. There was something I wanted to tag on that. The broccoli carrots. So I don't know, man. I'm getting old. I had something in my brain I wanted to share with that audition. I didn't get the part in My Baby Daddy, but that was an audition. I just kind of, you come off such a high off that, and that's the thing about this business with the emotion, with the range of emotions and auditions. I come off Daddy Daycare and I just crushed that audition. Knew I got the part. I'm on house money now. I go into My Baby Daddy's audition. I'm just like, I don't even care really. I was just going through the motions because my brain was still on Daddy Daycare. I was just like, I think I might audition and said BROCCOLI in that audition. I was like, what are you doing? There's no broccoli in this. It's just, that's just business, man. So that's a good story, I guess, you know? That's a good story. I think it's funny too when we talk about podcasts and being in the algorithms. Was, as far as me, I think that Katt Williams interview, my social media went nuts this week, and I haven't seen a jump in everything since the Alabama brawl over the summer. That thing, when I talked about that, that's what everybody was talking about that week, and you see a huge jump. So, yeah, and especially like that's my fan base. That's like those are the algorithms I want to be in right there. So like, yeah, it was cool. It was a cool week though, social media. And I think I heard some people say, if you just look at it like entertainment, it's a great week. If you start taking it personal, start beefing and everything, then I don't know. I think your name came up. You're good either way. What a week. What a week. Here's what I learned also this week about Katt Williams. He's so freaking smart. And I really watched the podcast again, and they did another podcast with Willie D. And this is what I know about Katt. Somehow that dude knows everything. I don't know if he watches everything, if he's got a team of people that watches stuff, but that guy knows everything. He went on Willie D's podcast, and Willie D, he's got a great podcast, by the way, he brought up Ali Sadiq. And I've had Ali Sadiq on my podcast. I like Ali. I like Katt both, but I guess Ali has an issue with Katt. And that's something I'd love to have Ali on my podcast again to talk about. But Katt, man, Katt never brought Ali Sadiq up in his Club Shay Shay interview. But then Ali had said, I want to box Katt. And I don't know the story. I heard Ali's side of the story. It's something about Ali was on a show. Katt wouldn't let him backstage. Ali felt disrespected and slighted. And Ali's been vocal about that on different platforms over the last couple years. And Ali said, I like to fight Katt in a charity boxing match. And keep in mind, Katt never brought Ali up in Club Shay Shay. Willie D brings Ali up, and Katt goes, yeah, I would fight him in a celebrity boxing match, but only one of us is a celebrity. And I was like,
How did Katt know Ali said that? The only way Katt knows Ali said that, if Katt's on the internet looking up stuff like we are on his phone, on his laptop, see what they're saying about him, or he's got people coming at him telling him stuff. I'm like, whoa, you don't get nothing by that guy. I was like, damn, does this dude know everything? He knows. There's no doubt he's watching my podcast, or somebody isn't getting back to him. That's what made me laugh this week was when people were telling me to sit out. Man, you gotta sit this out. I see you milking this Katt train. I go, I know, yeah, of course, but I'm also, this is what I do every week. I cut up clips from my podcast and I post it. People were actually watching my podcast and they were taking clips out and posting them before I was of something I was going to talk about. I go, oh, I was going to clip up the Steve Harvey show bit, and man, like Hollywood Unlocked, TMZ, they got a hold of it before I could release it. I was like, oh, they're releasing my stuff before I am. And here's the thing, what I want people to know. Nobody lost work this week because of the Katt interview. No promoter called and said, I don't want to work with him no more. No TV network or movie studio called and said, okay, I heard what Katt said about that guy. I don't want to work with him. And I guarantee you, no promoter or venue said, we don't want to work with Katt. Katt's tickets went through the roof. So everybody won. Everybody won in this. I think if we look at it like that, that's a good thing. I don't know how more people don't look at it like that. I don't know. The other news of the week was Joe Coy hosting the Golden Globes. And then some people was like, he bombed. He didn't do well. That's a hell gig, by the way. It's a super hell gig on 10 days notice. And it's a straight to hell with gasoline underwear if that room isn't familiar with you. And listen, Joe Coy is freaking huge. One of the toppest grossing comedians in the business. Funny as all hell. One of the nicest guys in the business. And he had to go to in front of a room where a lot of people weren't familiar with him. And even like when I heard people saying he bombed, I watched it. I knew going in, I was like, oh man, I hope Joe does well. But I kept thinking to myself, if I'm in this situation, and and they would be looking at me like they looked at Joe, just like that. We got to, like, Joe knew, Ali Wong knew Joe, and a couple other people definitely knew who he was. But most of those rooms, they live in a bubble, and they're just like, and they're the Hollywood elite, and they just probably never looked him up. And they haven't seen, Joe hasn't really done a ton of movies, especially the big time mainstream movies. So they were like, who is this guy? And it's almost like they were looking at him like, don't talk about me, don't talk about me, don't talk about me. How dare you talk about me? And I'm sitting there going, if I do a movie, I want the host to talk about me. It's similar to what Katt was doing. You want that, roast the hell out of my movie. Whatever it was, do it. And these, just loosen up, man. The Taylor Swift one, that's the one that got me. The way she drunk her wine is like, don't you dare talk about me. That was, since I'm in the studio where Stephen A was, that was such a softball joke. And I was like, less cutaways? Why are you laughing at that? What is wrong with that joke? And people are like, it was offensive. That wasn't offensive. You think that's offensive? Don't ever go to a live comedy show, please. If you thought that was offensive. God, that was the most PG joke I ever heard. They would be, and that's the thing about stand-up, man, it's weird. We can have a huge fan base. Like Joe Coy does freaking arenas and sells it out in advance, adding shows. He'll come to a city, move 20,000 tickets, no problem. And then, but for a show like the Golden Globes, they would think like Gerard Carmichael is a bigger star than Joe Coy and probably more accepted in that room and probably could have got away with more and not have been, people wouldn't have been as critical of him. But Gerard Carmichael can't sell as many tickets as Joe Coy. So it's weird. I'm curious to know who passed on it. because Joe kept saying I took the gig on 10 days. And I was like, well, who passed? Who said I don't want this gig? The best host of the Golden Globes is Eddie Gervais. I wish they could have just grandfathered him in and made him the host every year. But I felt bad, and I also enjoyed what Joe was doing, because as a comedian, you feel for him. I was like, man, I know there was a point where your mouth got dry, Joe, and you was like, oh, it's getting hot in here. It's a tight room. It's a tight room. And I don't know. And they said the Barbie cast was like uptight. I don't know. Ryan Gosling looked like he was having fun with it. I saw Robert De Niro go, oh, on the 80-year-old man having a kid joke. I just loosen up. I mean, go in there and I think you want to get bagged on. And Joe's just such a super nice guy. It's hard for him to be quote unquote mean in that. And that's what the like Ricky Gervais, he's just mean and without any regard at the Golden Globes. And Joe's just not, that's just not him. It's like me. It's just like me. Like I said, I'm not mean. And it's hard for me to just be mean. And some people come across a boom. And by the way, Taylor Swift, completely uptight. But Meryl Streep, does it get any better? She was having fun with Joy with the Wakanda stuff and laughing and cutting up. She's one of them people, man. You can tell she's so secure in herself. She's the perfect actress. If you was going to make an actress, just put Meryl Streep up there. She gets nominated every year for everything. It could be, they literally could have like her sitting on a toilet pushing one out, and she'd be up for a Golden Globe. And all she'd be doing is, ooh, ooh. But the way she would do it, you'd be like, I'm riveted. But I felt bad for my boy, man. I felt bad, and it was funny because bombing's funny, man. And the thing about it is, when you can, I don't think Joe bombed. I think the rooms just was uptight, and they weren't familiar with him. And I think what bothered me the most, it wasn't that. It was, I started Googling it because I want to see how he did, because I was on stage during the Golden Globes. So when I got off, I immediately went back to my room. I caught up on some football scores and everything, and then I looked at his opening monologue. And I looked at it before I read any reviews or anything, and I was like, oh, okay, that was a good one. It was hit and miss, like anything. Some jokes hit and some didn't. And Joe did exactly what I would have did. He would have been like, hey, I wrote some of these, and some of these I didn't. That one I didn't write. And then he's like, the funny ones I wrote. And then he's like, come on, I got this gig on 10 days notice. You thought everything was going to hit? I was like, that's exactly how I would have reacted if I would have told a flat joke from a writer that you're trusting knows the room. It's a hell gig, man. That is a hell gig. You got to be in the loop. Like Kev would have been fine because they know him. They're coming. It's like when he walked on stage, it was like, all right, who are you? And prove to us that you're funny. He's not getting the benefit of the doubt. Where someone like Kevin would have got the benefit of the doubt. Chris Rock would have got the benefit of the doubt. So, I mean, it ain't going to hurt him. Like I said, he's still going to sell out. Still going to sell a bunch of tickets. I got sidetracked. What I didn't like about it was these morning talk shows just going in on Joe like he's the worst comedian on the planet. And just like, they should never have him back. His jokes were so distasteful. No, they weren't. And that's why I watch the Golden Globes. It's for the distasteful jokes. The more distasteful, the better. So that's what I didn't like. It was always like these Karen-looking people, or very, I don't know, people I didn't want to hang out with, are sitting there judging Joe Coy. Relax. He did fine. I mean, he held his own. 10 days notice. He's a fish out of water with that audience, and I thought the monologue was decent. That's just me, because I'm lit like, and I'm looking at like, Joe didn't write that. There's no way he wrote that. Okay, he probably ad-libbed that. So it's just like, Joe, if you see this, you did fine. The room was uptight. I don't know. There's some comedians that just would have snapped on Taylor Swift. You was nice about it. I don't know if I would have snapped on her or not. That's where I might have. Look, if you're at the point where you know you're not going to get invited back, just fucking go balls out. Just start cussing, talking about their mamas. They private parts, just everything. But I thought that was, I don't know, I always thought the MTV Awards was a hell gig. I would never want to host that. I mean, I'm not saying if they offered it to me back in the day, if I would have did it or wouldn't have did it, but I saw Dane Cook eat it right when Dane hit, like 2006 or something. He went on the MTV Awards, and I remember Snoop introduced him, and his self-released comedy special came out, and that's when he did all those numbers. It was similar to a Matt Rife kind of rise. And they had him on MTV on like a week or two notice because he went through the roof. And he went up there and did jokes that I'd seen him do all over L.A. that destroys comedy clubs and theaters. And they looked at him like, who is this dude? Get off the stage. And I was like, those jokes kill at comedy clubs and theaters. But the MTV Awards, they didn't know who he was back then. He came out of left field, and they was like, they weren't really paying attention. And then they're like, don't talk about us. Like, they're too cool to be talked about. Get out here with that. I don't know. That's why I think all the hosted shows are hell gigs. Honestly. Even the Oscars, you gotta be accepted into that group. And you gotta be known in that group to even stand a chance to win them over. It's almost like they gotta look at you like you are on their level. To how dare you speak on us, and you've never done a $300 million movie, and you have never done a drama, and you've never done a kissing scene with another man. How dare you speak on us? That's how I looked at it. But yeah, Joe, if you see this, man, I thought you did great. I thought it was funny. Obviously, even the jokes that didn't hit, I thought was funny. I thought it was all funny. So this is a depressing week. My Bengals are not in the playoffs. So I'm going to give my predictions. All right? Since this is the studio that Stephen A. Smith wanted to record in, let's look at the schedule, and I'm going to go game by game. So, where are we at? Playoffs. All right. I want to go in order. Packers at Cowboys. That's the easiest pick of the entire playoffs. It's the Dallas Cowboys, and whatever the point differential is, take it. I got a feeling that's going to be a blowout. Rams at Lions. I'm taking the Lions. I'm betting with my heart here. They're like the Bengals of the NFC, and I really want to see them win. So I'm going to take the Lions over the Rams, even though the Rams are playing just as good as anybody in the last month and a half. Philadelphia Eagles at Tampa Bay. If you'd asked me a month ago, I would have taken the Eagles, no doubt. But the way things are going, I think I'm going to take Tampa Bay. So, Gary went with all the higher seeds. Big shock. All right, Cleveland at Houston. And I don't want people to be mad at me, but I think Cleveland's got something special happening. And I think I'm rooting for Houston, but I'm picking Cleveland. I'll put it that way. I'm rooting for Houston, but I'm picking Cleveland. Kansas City at Miami. I think I'm going to take the Dolphins just because I like their head coach. And I think Tyreek's going to come in there and Tua, and yeah, I think the Dolphins are going to beat the Chiefs. I think this is just an off year for the Chiefs. I don't for whatever reason the mojo ain't working, and I'm gonna take the Dolphins. And then the easiest layup in the AFC: Steelers at Bills. Blowout, Buffalo Bills. Especially with Steelers ain't got T.J. Watt. Come on. So Cowboys, Lions, Buccaneers, Browns, Dolphins, Bills. So I took 2 road teams, 4 home teams. And then we'll see how it plays out. We'll see if I'm 6-0, 4-2. Oh, wait a minute. I'm missing a game. Isn't there? No, the Monday game is okay. The Monday game's Philly at Tampa. Okay. I was wondering what that was. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Got that. All right. Yeah. So, yeah, this was a interesting week to be a stand-up. It was I never seen nothing like it, honestly. I've never seen a week like this where everybody deep down wanted to be talked about. They wanted their name to come up in that podcast. Man, Katt just went nuts. I was interested, so I went to, like, sometimes I'll go to Ticketmaster, and sometimes I'll go because I'll forget my schedule and I'll see where I'm at, and I just happen to type in Katt's name because I was hearing, like, people going, his ticket prices went up. And I'm like, man, that dude was selling some tickets. He sold out, and he's like, look at this. Look at this. He sold out the HEB Center in Cedar Park, Texas. The Hertz Arena, where, I don't know, Estero, Florida. Oh, I think that's by Naples. It's basically sold out. There's like a ticket here, a ticket here, a ticket here. And it's all because of that podcast. Not just because of the podcast. He was going to sell a bunch of tickets anyways. But the fact that he sold out in advance is just, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And it's like, I don't realize if you say anything about him, he's going to know. He's going to know. I think one time I ran into Katt at a club, and he said it like that too. The fact that he said, I was in Atlanta, I had a show, and they said, hey, Katt's here. And I went over to say hi to him. And he goes, yeah, I saw your interview. And I said, which one? He goes, all of them. I was like, what? He just said, all of them. And I thought, he didn't see all the interviews. Now I'm like, he probably did. He probably saw all of them. Why would I ever doubt that man? I never seen so many. Like, Ice Cube came out and talked. Everybody had to come out and either fact check or tell their version of the story. Never seen nothing like it. Everybody. And then some people's like, well, I'm not going to say anything. I don't have time to talk about that. I'm too busy. I'm like, yeah, but you just did say something about it. You saying I don't want to talk about it is talking about it. It's mind-boggling. I don't know. I had a great week. I had a fun week. All I can tell Katt is thank you. Thank you for just mentioning my name real quick and telling me I'm legit and why I haven't crossed over. And look, I just got done. I told you last month.
तेरी बायां बिच बंग सोबे वो अखां बिच सुरमो तेरे अखां बिच सुरमो तेरे हाथ मेहंदी गो रंग सोबे वो कुड़ी बलेस गिए डोर सोनी लौंग तेरो दूर चमके लौंग तेरो दूर चमके बाकी तेरी टोर सोनी बकुड़ी बलेस गिए पलत ना देखता रहनो वे कुड़ी बलस गिए तेरी खा जामी वो चोरी चोरी मिलना जल चोरी चोरी मिलना जल मत सामने आ जावे वो कुड़ी बलस गिए बलस गिए कुड़ी बलस गिए तेरो जियो सुनो फुल कोई नी वो दुनिया माला कीमत दुनिया माला कीमत तेरो किते भी मुल कोई नी वो कुड़ी बलस गिए